Misophonia, a condition where individuals experience intense emotional responses to certain sounds, like chewing, snoring, or slurping, has been increasingly recognized, though its origins remain unclear. A recent study from the University of Amsterdam has unveiled concerning genetic links between misophonia and other psychiatric conditions, including anxiety, depression, and PTSD. These findings suggest that the roots of this condition may not just lie in environmental factors, but could also be intertwined with the genetics of mental health disorders. The study, led by psychiatrist Dirk Smit, analyzed data from large-scale genetic databases, including the Psychiatric Genomics Consortium, UK Biobank, and 23andMe. It revealed that people who identified themselves as having misophonia were more likely to have genetic markers linked to psychiatric conditions. This overlap was particularly notable for tinnitus, a disorder characterized by persistent ringing in the ears, which often co-occurs with psychological symptoms such as anxiety and depression. These shared genetic traits indicate that the mechanisms behind misophonia might be more complex and interrelated with mental health disorders than previously thought. One of the most compelling aspects of this study is the discovery of a genetic overlap between misophonia and PTSD. While this does not definitively prove that misophonia and PTSD share identical biological mechanisms, it suggests that both conditions might be influenced by similar neurobiological systems. This connection hints at the potential for shared treatment strategies. For instance, techniques used to help people with PTSD, such as exposure therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, could be effective in treating misophonia as well. However, the researchers were careful to note that while there are genetic similarities, this doesn't mean the disorders are the same or that they share identical underlying causes. Further evidence from the study supports earlier findings that people with misophonia are prone to internalizing their distress. The emotional responses to triggering sounds can range from irritation to intense anger, and these feelings often interfere with daily life. The study found that individuals with misophonia are more likely to experience personality traits associated with anxiety, such as neuroticism, loneliness, guilt, and worry. In fact, the study proposes that the emotional distress triggered by certain sounds may be more about the guilt of experiencing anger than the anger itself. This could indicate that misophonia may be, at least in part, a learned or conditioned response, which could be shaped by individual personality traits. Interestingly, the research found that people with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, were less likely to report misophonia, even though those with ASD typically have a reduced tolerance for certain sounds. This discovery is somewhat surprising, as one might expect a higher prevalence of misophonia in people with ASD due to their heightened sensitivity to sensory stimuli. However, the data indicated that misophonia and ASD are genetically independent, suggesting that misophonia could be driven by other factors, such as emotional responses to sounds rather than sensory sensitivities. Despite these intriguing findings, Smit and his colleagues acknowledge several limitations in the study. One major caveat is that the research relied on self-reported data, which may not be as accurate as a formal medical diagnosis. The study sample was also predominantly European, raising concerns about the generalizability of the results to other populations with different genetic backgrounds. This is particularly important because misophonia's genetic links may not be the same across diverse groups. Nevertheless, this study provides valuable insights into the genetic underpinnings of misophonia and suggests that further research could help identify its biological mechanisms. With these findings, researchers are encouraged to explore how psychiatric treatments for conditions like anxiety, depression, and PTSD could be adapted to treat misophonia. However, while the potential for treatment breakthroughs is promising, it is crucial to remember that misophonia's complexity means that not every individual's experience with it will fit neatly into a genetic or psychiatric model. The interplay between genetics, emotional responses, and environmental factors in misophonia remains an area ripe for continued exploration.